What's up, you guys? Thank you guys for watching the Modern Flow podcast. I'm so greatly appreciated about all the support and the listens and the referrals and the people that have jumped on the podcast. I just want to say thank you and appreciate you guys. And quick promotion, we got Peak Performance Academy, and if you're interested in working with me and performance coaching and life coaching, please let me know. Just book a discovery call. This is how we support the channel. This is how we support more podcasts, more guests. All this stuff takes time, and the best way you could support is hitting a like button, sharing it, commenting it, and tagging somebody on it, and just helping spread the message. This year, I'm really trying to make it 10 times the impact. So, yes, I'd love to hear from you. Book a discovery call. Refer this out to a friend of yours if you like personal development, and if this message resonates with you, I'll be greatly appreciate it. All right, thanks guys, and enjoy the podcast. All right, what's up, guys? We're in the neighborhood. We're doing a special podcast. It's a walking podcast because springtime, and I really needed to get out of the studio, aka the basement, my workspace. So I sleep and I work in the same space. So I gotta try to find ways to get out of the space. So sometimes when you get out of space, you get more creative in things. So I'm like, all right, why don't we just do a podcast, a solo podcast with just me, and kind of recap all the stuff that I've done and tell you what's going on, give you a little bit of an update. And while I get my steps in, my cardio in, and give you a little update on what's going on with my life and how sick this beard is. So, yeah, this is a quick little introduction. So I'm growing a lot, expanding, and as always, flowing, right? My new motto I've been meditating on is growing and flowing. When somebody asks me, and when I say flow could be up, flow could be down, you know? So the ups and downs, it's a flow. It's like wavelengths and stuff. So, like I said, I like to bring the real to the personal development as well too, and also the optimistic side of it as well too. So hope you enjoyed this podcast and this hike. I don't know. It's a nice hike in the neighborhood. That's what I'm going to do. So I thought I'd take this day off from the office since I grinded really hard. And sometimes you need to take that mental break. So this is kind of work, but play at the same time. So it kind of blurs the line. But I'm always blurring the line. That's what the artist is doing. Okay. All right, you're coming with me. Okay. I got the mic set up here. And first off, the first thing I want to tell you guys about the update on the mission and the direction of the podcast. As you know, I changed it to the Modern Flow podcast, and it's always open to change for a different direction. It's just a name, and the mission behind everything is to elevate the collective. Right? I left the collective open, right? So because in spirituality terms, there's consciousness, there's vibrations, there's frequencies. Other people believe in different words, right? So for me, I left the collective as an open interpretation for the mission. But everyone's invited that is purposeful, that has a mission to serve, right? We're going to serve this with coaching and conversations. So that's why the podcast is part of the community, and that's part of the mission that we have. So, and the direction, this year, and this will probably release a little bit later, probably after, but I'm working on a healing summit. I can't give all the details yet out. Actually, well, I can. We're pretty much going to be promoting it by the time I release this video. So on June 28th, Alcina and I are putting together a healing summit with a lot of Khmer folks in the area, in the U.S. Well, mostly the West Coast and the East Coast. So that's what we're doing. And we're gonna get speakers, get podcast, life coaches, therapists, people in the mental health industry to help heal, help teach about generational limitations, generational traumas, all the stuff that I talk about in this fucking podcast. So it's an alignment project, and Alcina is the one that's putting so much work into it, which is fantastic. She is super smart and really changed the game in the life coaching. We have a podcast, so if you're watching or listening to this podcast, I'll say go listen to that podcast and learn about her. So super smart. I like to think I'm smart too, but I like to be around people that are super, super smart, so it makes me smart too. But removing limitations, so big, right? If I could have a whole coaching community about removing limitations. And that's basically what it is. Limitations that are put on you from society, from your family, from your friends, from the media, from all those systems, right? Those are limitations that you could go by, right? Because somebody said something. Where you're super impressionable, right? Where small things could stick in your subconscious, right? That hurt your feelings. Those could stay down there. So part of like removing limitations and generational healing and everything, that's what it's part about. Is removing those limitations that maybe your mom or your brother or somebody in your family said something unknowingly, right? You also have to start with forgiveness, and that's what about healing is. It's about forgiving yourself, forgiving the other people as well too. So it's about healing. So that's why we started, and that's the mission. That's where we are going with that. A bit about the community and who we're serving. So if you guys watch my content, I try to make it valuable too. Like if you're a coach or building business, Patrick Bet-David, I don't know, he calls it valuetainment. His company's called valuetainment. Like at least be fucking entertaining and put value out there too. So I try to be entertaining and like do creative things for you guys too, so you guys can watch and learn. But I'm putting together the blueprint, like business blueprint for coaches that are mission driven and putting it out there for people. And this is like my service, ministry. Some people call it different things, but to me, it's like my dharma. It's my purpose to give back, right? In this space of healing, personal development, and life coaching and stuff. So that's where I've been focusing a lot of my attention on. And I've noticed and niched down to serving mission-driven entrepreneurs. Let's write that again, okay? If you are listening to podcasts, how you doing? If you're listening to the podcast and you're a mission-driven entrepreneur, I want you to hit the calendar link or whatever freebie that I'm giving to you at the time, because I'm going to be doing this to promote and shorten the time period it takes to build a business. The time it takes to build a business, if you're not skilled, right, and if you're using your own time, it could take like 3 years. I went full time on it. So it took me a year, still not perfect. Still needs tweaking, still needs work. Still needs a lot of shit that I can't fucking talk about here in this podcast, but it still needs work. But the process has to start. And when you guys listen to this and you guys are hesitant, maybe you should start that business. Maybe you should do it. Whatever, maybe you're getting that urge, that irky feeling. It's not that you have to quit your job. Really doesn't mean that, right? I have a full-time job. Alcina has a full-time job. We made a decision, right,
to stick to this plan, to this mission. So when you have a mission behind what you are doing, it's going to put you in this different area of energy. And right now, energy is currency. I wrote that on my Facebook. I said, energy is currency. Right? In order to make money, it is an energy flow. When the energy flows, right, and your focus starts to flow into like a certain direction, that's where money goes. So energy flow, money flow. So that's what we're talking about in this new next, like how we're changing our mindset is to switch from a scarcity mindset, scarcity survival. And I've been there. I'm still there sometimes where I get tripped up by survival mode, but you gotta have tools as entrepreneurs, as high performers, as people that want to remove these limitations. You gotta have fucking tools to remove it, right? And today, just for example, it's like I'm doing a podcast and I thought I'd take a day off just to kind of chill and just get my expression out. And this week I said I was gonna not take too many coaching calls and really like realign, and it's paid some dividends. I also need some more work, right? Everything's a process. It is a process. So let's check out the trees here in this trail. Look how it's like super tall, which is like fantastic. Doesn't look great. So I live with my brother, and he's getting a new Tesla tomorrow. So super happy for him. And he's having a baby. This is not podcast related, but he's having a baby. My brother just got engaged. And my nephew, Maddox, who's been on the podcast, not recently, he's Braxton's younger brother, but he made it to nationals. So a lot of cool things happening, and some of my business ventures are starting to pick up and gain some traction. So, but back to the podcast episodes. So 76 of them. So Philip Ricardo Jr. Podcast that I did with him was like super, super cool. Hello. So he was talking about, he actually had a documentary, if you watch it, listen to the podcast, Natty for Life. And I didn't realize that he was going through one of his hardest times in his life while he was taping that documentary. And I was like, totally a hero's journey of a comeback story, because he had some very tragic things happen. I think his brother died, or can't remember the details, but definitely listen to the podcast. But that happened, and then he divorced, and that was all happening, I think, while he was doing the documentary. And if you watch the documentary, you watch the podcast, you already know what happened. He fucking wins. I was like, yes. And I got to interview him on a podcast. It's like, felt like Arnold Schwarzenegger interviewing Steve Reeves, but in the natty world. So felt super cool, super like, this is cool, right? Just something cool to talk about. So somebody asked me, like, what common themes did I find in the podcast that I did as me as a host, right? I'm the host. I literally asked anybody I could find that would be interested in jumping on a podcast. So it was all volunteer. Didn't force anybody, didn't pay anybody. It was all volunteer. So just their time, just the expertise and whatever. And I said, hey, the survey for me to fill out the podcast, you have to put information in so I could get your social media and stuff. And then, like, what topics do we talk about? So that's the section where I go into. And it's a way, like, in personal development, the podcast is in many ways of like teaching you how to communicate with people, how to have interactions, how to network with people online. How you doing? All that. It's like, there's a lot of stuff behind it that goes behind the scenes on it. The thing is, I talk about the podcast on the podcast. So it's like, you're getting fucking double podcasts. Well, I guess that's how I look at things. It might be a little bit different. But, so at the 76, what's the common themes? Of course, it's me. I'm the host, right? I'm the constant, the podcast. But the people, the concept between the people and everything is that everybody has a story to tell. An interesting story to tell. Be open and leave space for people, right? You hold space for people. I said, hey, look, you can promote it however, but I'm gonna promote it. If it's a good podcast, I'm gonna promote it. And it's public, which is, for me, it's a little bit more authentic, and I love authentic conversations. So, keeping on with the theme, it's like the podcast is always gonna be authentic as possible. I tell people when they get nervous, you're gonna hop on a podcast and if you're nervous, just be as authentic as possible. Because what I learned, because I was struggling too with the podcast, and I was getting nervous. My own fucking podcast, right? My own podcast, I was nervous. And I was like, I don't know where my thought was going, but I was getting nervous because I was trying to be a perfectionist. And I was meditating on that. There's 3 things, and I want you to take notes here in this section, right? 3 things that I learned from podcasting is to determine these 3 identities. Super powerful, okay? Super powerful. I want you guys to write this down. It's the perfectionist, right? Trying to be this fucking perfectionist. You guys know who that person is, right? Who's the perfectionist? You, me, right? We're our own fucking worst critic when it comes to perfectionists, okay? And think about that voice. Think about that. Oh, I gotta do this before this happens, and I get real nervous, right? If I make this phone call or I make this message and I get rejected, right? That's ego, right? And that's what real power is when you really understand it. So that's the perfectionist. And then the next one is the doubter, right? 76 podcasts I did. I couldn't do this. You don't think I've had some doubts with this podcast, with this community? Have doubts every day. This shit sucked. I'm gonna tell you something really honest that happened, right? This is a real fucking true story. True story. One of my best friends, not best friends, I would say good friends, from college, university. Great podcaster, amazing podcaster. Called me up and left this fucking message. And I was like, he said it was fucking shit. He said it was fucking trash. He said it was some real hurtful shit. I didn't talk about it. Talked about it, with one friend. And I was like, man, that really hurt my feeling. Somebody that I was like really good friends with, really great podcaster, right? Some of you guys could put 2 and 2 together, but it's like, that put a lot of doubt in my own fucking mind. Like one of my best friends, one of my good friends. And I was like, man, I was struggling with that. So the doubter, if somebody, like when you put yourself out there, you put content, that voice is gonna always creep up. You gotta know how to manage it. You gotta know how to catch those patterns. We got the perfectionist, we got the doubter. What's the last one? And I think it's the ego. No. Yes, the ego. The ego. The ego. Hard to understand, but the ego is the person here, like you're the person, right? There's only one, you might live in this world where there's one viewpoint, but if you start to switch your viewpoint, right? You find alignment with yourself, like with your values and what you're doing in a career and stuff. That's called alignment. But then when you start to resonate with the people you're speaking with, right? That's attunement, because you're starting to feel their pain first, and then when you're coaching, when you're responding, right? Whether it's a conversation with your spouse, your parents, right? They're better. They're better because you understand them first. And that's where the heart of communication and everything lies. So, and at the end of the day, guys, that's what podcasting is. That's what content creation is. And it could be in any different format. If you're looking at Instagram, you're looking at Facebook, you're looking at YouTube, Spotify, long format and stuff. It's about resonating and aligning with who you're speaking with. And that is a big part of communication, attunement, alignment, ego, perfectionist, doubter. They're all identities. We have to understand them. Did a little bit about burnout, but I want to talk about seasonal changes, adjustments. Super important to know and understand cycles, because it really is, like, if you start to think about energies and natures and everything, and if you plan according to like the nature or to the cycles, it would be a lot easier. But I don't know about you guys, but wintertime was pretty rough for me. But in the wintertime, we start to, what's the word? Shannon has used this in a podcast. It's called retrograde. It's like when you expand and then when you contract. It's just like during the day, the sun's out, and at night, the moon's out, right? There's a light, there's a day. There's always opposites to it. So if you're expanding, right? If you're building a business, and that's what you should be doing if you're building a business, is networking, socializing, not socializing, but like coaching calls, building a business, building your brand, wherever, right? You're expanding. And with expansion comes contraction, right? And this is where where I learned a lot of stuff about myself. People tend to avoid this, and this is where they really get fucked up, is like when they expand, right? If you're growing, there's always gonna be a little bit of downside, right? There's always a high with a low, right? Seasons and cycles, that's what we're talking about. And business has cycles as well too. So if you're looking to grow your business, right, from where it is, right, you had to take a period of contraction, right? And sometimes the period of contraction is very painful. And it could be emotionally painful, spiritually painful. I suffered a lot of it. But one thing that I started doing, and some of you guys might love this, is that I started praying more. I was always a big meditator, but I started praying more and doing more somatic work with my hand over my heart, and really focusing my attention on my brain and my heart, and doing like a brain-heart coherence type of prayer, and start moving energy. And that's really helped me a lot to my own like personal development work and my own therapy. And I'm always honest with my listeners, and think that I still struggle with grief and seasonal depression, just like you guys. I have 2 kids, right? I have boundaries I have to set on myself, boundaries at work, boundaries with my clients, right? It's all about setting these boundaries and like protecting yourself. And what I learned through prayer is, it's more energy to get angry. So I kind of just walk away when things like, I don't feel like it's serving, it's not in tune, aligned with my energies. And I don't know how to describe it, but like, I'm very energy based now. It's like, if it's not aligned with what I want to do, like the example would be is like, if it's Sunday and somebody invited me, even if it was for like free dinner or something, I'd probably be like, nah, like I'm good, right? Like a day for rest. And I used to think I could grind all the time. And I still think I can, but I still build in some days for rest, and that's important for you guys as well too. So maybe I'm going off on a tangent, but like sleep and rest cycles are important to align with the seasonal changes as well too, and understanding your like rhythm, right? Rhythm is another part of understanding the universe, how things go in rhythm. So seasons, rhythms, day to day, right? 24-hour cycles, right? Even the day that you could break it down to the day-to-day cycles. And for me, it's like my energy dips in the afternoon, in which I need to learn how to manage and cope with that. Like my energy's super high in the morning, but near 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, it dips, it tanks, right? And I'm not about to go take some testosterone at this age, but I know it dips. That's why I leave some room for a nice nap, right? That's the time of the day where it's a nap time, whether it would be in the office, in a car. Like, I'd made room for a nap. Like, fortunately, if I don't like make those boundaries and stuff, it might affect other areas. And with that, for me, right, understanding sleep cycles and everything, and for you to understand the importance of like your recovery, it's just as important as your day to day, right? If you're a high performer, you're performing really and expanding and growing, right? You need some time to recover and rest, right? There's also setting like strict bedtimes. And you know what, guys? Benefit of sleeping more, nobody fucking talks to you. I don't know about you, like I don't like talking too much. Whatever you want, right? I use it as a platform of my own expression. And I want to talk about like a form of expression. It could come in anything: art, podcasting, content creation, writing. It's a creation, it's a process, it's art, right? What we are here, put on this planet, is to create, right? Even if you're in like a little box or whatever, you could create in that box. Like for me, I like to expand and I like to create art and I like to get other people involved as well to it. So right now I'm in a creative flow, right? A flow where things keep moving, ideas flow, you're immersed, and you control time and energy and matter a little bit more. And I really want to leave this conversation about time, right? And the concept of it. Everybody's concept of time is different. It's like the same as money. Everybody sees money as a little bit different. Some people value it more. Some people don't. I don't value it as much as I used to. And it's the truth. I value good conversations. I value relationships. I value impact, legacy, right? To me, the dollar bill is the dollar bill to get to the fucking destination quicker. And then once you eliminate that thought process, it's like the thing that you want to achieve, right? The thing that you want to get at, right? My goal is to be a millionaire, right? Still not there, but I'm on my way there. My mindset's there. But like, when is it gonna happen, right? I want to be a professional bodybuilder. I don't know when it's gonna fucking happen. I keep putting work in, it's my 5th try. When am I gonna be a professional? It's like, I could quit any fucking day. This business, right? I started it, it's a dream, I started it because I had this spiritual awakening, and I was like, this is what feels aligned at the time. Get certified, start the podcast, start the coaching community, start the coaching programs, start that, right? It wasn't time, it wasn't dollar bills that stopped me, right? It was my mindset around how I perceive time and money, right? The only thing that is a resource that you can't get back is time, right? Money, you could go earn more money. You could always more money, right? It doesn't matter. Like I said, like you could be a millionaire and 75, and nobody cares, right? So for me, it's like, if I hit 40, and I do have ambitious goals, and I'm very, I talk about it on my podcast. I talk about it there. Like, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a professional bodybuilder, right? I'm always striving. I'm a very ambitious person, and there's nothing wrong with it. But there's a price that you had to pay for this kind of performance, trying to be like super high performance at a time. There's a lot of sacrifices that come, and people don't talk about the sacrifices, right? Favorite philosopher, David Casper, asked in his Facebook group, he was like, if you want to be a high performer, what do you got to fucking know? I'm going to tell you this. Tell you what you need to fucking know. It's going to be fucking hard, okay? We all know it's going to, like, there's going to be a lot of sacrifices. There's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be tears. There's going to be long nights. There's going to be sleepless nights. Like, I've endured, and I know I will have to endure more, because that's the price that you had to pay. So it is a little bit of suffering. It is a little bit of a philosophical, like stoic type of philosophy, right? Suffering is good for you, but if it's good for you and you're making progress and you're serving your community, continue on. So if you guys thinking about making a podcast, putting yourself out there more in the content creation space, if you're an entrepreneur or thinking about being an entrepreneur, right? Thinking about, hey, maybe I could do this work from home thing. Maybe I can make more impact. Maybe I can make some more money, right? Maybe I can improve my skills and stuff. That happens when you take a step towards something, right? Something different, right? And honest, like, if you're sick and tired, like, I was fucking sick and tired. I was sick and tired of, like, improving at work and nobody's seeing the results, right? I was sick and tired of that. So I made a change, and change comes with discomfort, and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and I know that. So if you need somebody to help support with changing lifestyles, upgrading it, right, realigning values, making breakthroughs, podcasting, all that stuff, right? It doesn't have to be podcast. It's about a limitation that we're removing. It is a generational, like, limitation that is right here. Let me tell you guys a fucking story to inspire you guys, right? I'm gonna leave you guys with this fucking story. Brings me back to my college days. When I went to college, guys, like, I barely, like, I thought I passed high school, barely made it to college. My SAT scores were like 1,000. Barely made it to VCU. My English was still shit. And I would always, like, go to these meetings and I always have things to say, but I just couldn't express myself. I remember even one meeting, I went to a productivity, like, workshop. My job was to come back and do the presentation and see if I could apply anything to the thing. I started whole 3 to 5 minutes of that presentation, right, that I had to speak. I was so fucking nervous. And even during the interview, when I had to go through the interview process with the fraternity, you had, like, the whole fraternity asking you questions about your character, about your experience, about what you want to do, you know, the interview. You're getting grilled, and you're nervous as fuck, and you can't even speak, right? My fraternity gave me a superlative, most likely to never be an English professor. I was like, well, I'm out here fucking with a podcast and you guys ain't. That's what I'm fucking saying. I'm out here speaking every day. I worked on it, guys. There's no such thing as, like, perfection or anything. Like business, same thing. Your physical body, your physical training, your relationship, same thing. If you have the same mindset and it's applied to all fucking areas, right, you could win, right? It's about removing limitations and understanding, like, human patterns that we have, and hopefully that opens some light into your thought process, your consciousness. When you're going through your day-to-day, ask yourself, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for other people? Or are you putting yourself in a trap, you know? And that's how you break out those mental barriers. But anyway, guys, I love you guys. Thank you for listening to today's Modern Flow podcast with your host, me, Samnang, lifestyle performance coach, hybrid athlete, and philosopher. I'll see you guys and hear you guys on the next podcast.